1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, yummy.
Are you ready?
Banana cream filled donuts. I've just got a bunch of my ingredients already prepared ahead of time for us. So inside here, measuring jug, I got 4 eggs. In a bowl, I've got 150 grams of all-purpose flour. And then in this pot, which I'm just turning on now to bring to a boil, I've got water and I've got some butter, 113 grams of butter and 227 grams of water, along with 3/4 teaspoon of salt. So I'm just gonna bring this to a boil. And then once it comes to a boil, which is just about there now, I'm gonna remove it from the heat. So I want a nice rolling boil like this. I'm gonna remove it from the heat and then I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna dump all the flour in at once. And then I'm gonna just give it a good mix. And then I'm gonna return it back onto the heat and just cook it up for a minute just to make sure that all of the flour has been well mixed in. And then you make sure you're stirring it quite vigorously. Okay, once you see all the flour is well mixed in, it's cooked for about a minute. We're gonna then transfer it into a side bowl here. I've just got a KitchenAid mixer. If you don't have a KitchenAid mixer, you can just put it into any normal bowl and use a hand mixer. So I'm just gonna go ahead and turn the stand mixer on now. And I've got my eggs. I'm gonna add in, once it starts to cool down a little bit, 1 egg at a time. We wanna just bring the temperature down. It's really hot because it was on the stove cooking. If you have a thermometer, you wanna bring it to around 50 degrees Celsius. So you should be able to touch it and keep your hand on there without it being super, super hot. So this might take a few minutes to cool it down. Alright, my mixture is cooled down. I can hold my hands on the side of the bowl. If you don't have a mixer to do it, you can just let it sit at room temperature to come down to a nice temperature. I'm going to start adding in 1 egg at a time as I beat it in. It's going to look like it curdles at first, but eventually it will all start coming together. I'm just gonna stop it for a second here, and I want to clean up the sides of the bowl to make sure that everything is getting incorporated evenly. So if you have a KitchenAid, you're doing the same. I recommend you doing this once or twice as well, or if you're just using a regular mixer. You can also do this just by hand. If you don't have that, just keep beating and beating 1 egg at a time inside. Just do little bit by little bit. And there we have a nice even mixture. So I'm just gonna go ahead and clean off my machine here. Alright, so I've just taken all of my filling that we made from the bowl and I put it into a piping bag, but if you don't have a piping bag, you can just use a scoop like a ice cream scoop or a tablespoon scoop. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly wet my hands just so that it doesn't stick. And then I'm going to take a dollop of the filling and put it on my hand. And then if your hands are lightly wet, not too wet, you should be able to handle it without worrying about it sticking to your hand. And I'm just trying to make it into like a ball-like shape. I want it to be something around this size. And then I'm going to just place it into this little colander sieve style thing, and I'm going to place it into my hot oil. My oil is around 190 degrees Celsius right now, which is right where I want it to be. Be careful you're not putting anything really too close because you don't want it to splash up and hurt you. And just keep that oil on a low temperature, and it should be the donut should be moved around and flipped every once in a while. But again, just your hand is a little bit wet, put a dollop on there, and then you're just gonna try and make it into like a round ball shape. As best you can. And then place them into the oil. So I'd say these look pretty good. I'm gonna start popping them out and placing them. So we're just cooking up the last batch here. You have to really be careful that they have enough time to cook. They should take about 6 minutes to cook in the hot oil, because if you try to cook them too fast or the oil is too hot and they cook too fast on the outside, they're gonna look done, but the inside will still be raw and doughy and uncooked, which is definitely not what you want. So keep that temperature a little bit lower rather than too high, so it takes a little bit longer for them to fry up, and you'll have a really nice donut. So these ones are almost ready to fill up. Now if I cut one in half and to show you, they should be nice. They should have like a hole inside, and that's where we're gonna fill this up. On both sides here there's a big cavity, and we're gonna poke it and fill it with the banana cream filling next, so you guys can enjoy them with that. We can also take them and toss them in some icing sugar and cinnamon if you wanted to. It's really up to you, but the ones that I've decided we're gonna fill with the banana cream filling today. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and fill our donuts. I've just given them a few minutes to cool down. I've grabbed a toothpick, and I'm just gonna go ahead and insert like a tiny little hole for me to go ahead and squeeze the banana cream filling. I put this into a piping bag. Cut the tip off of your piping bag first, and then make sure you take that and you throw it away. Otherwise it might get stuck in one of the donuts. So once you've done that, just go ahead, find that hole that you had just poked, and then you're gonna squeeze the filling into the donut, and you should feel it filling up. And then when it starts to push out like that, you can just go ahead, take it, wipe it off, and then place it in a tray next to you. Now, as you are filling these, I just want to, if you don't have a piping bag, I want to tell you, you can do this with just like a Ziploc bag, and then put the filling inside of a Ziploc bag and cut the corner of your Ziploc bag and use it as a piping bag, just the same way I'm here using a piping bag. So don't have to necessarily go out and buy something new if you don't have it at home already.